Hey guys, so let's talk laser jammers. There are a bunch of different laser jammers on the market, and they all advertise themselves as being able to prevent police laser guns from getting a speed reading on your car, thereby helping you avoid speeding tickets. Now, there's a couple of them that are available, and so the question then becomes, well, which one's the best, and which one should I get for my car? So that's what we're going to discuss today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the most popular jammers that are currently on the market and the pros and cons and some of the highlights. We're not going to cover every feature in depth because this would be a crazy long video slash talk. So we're just going to cover some of the highlights and the most important things that you guys need to know. So with respect to a jammer, first of all, what are the most important things? Well, in my mind, there's three things that really separate one laser jammer from another. Number one, first and foremost, the most important thing is its capability to actually be able to jam a police LiDAR gun. Because if it can't do that, then what's the point, right? So a jammer has to be able to jam, and its capability of jamming really any gun that you're going to actually encounter is going to be really important. So we're going to be discussing that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is updates. See, you've seen with technology like iPhones, Androids, they keep coming out with new phones, and this technology world keeps evolving, right? Similar thing applies with LiDAR guns. Keep coming out with new versions of LiDAR guns, and they keep coming out with new versions of laser jammers. And there's kind of a cat and mouse game that goes on where there's now anti-jamming LiDAR guns that are designed to defeat laser jammers. And so laser jammers then have to be updated to compensate for laser guns that are trying to defeat the jammers. So again, there's this back and forth cat and mouse game. So it's not like, oh, I'm good, I'm set for life. This stuff keeps changing and evolving, and so your jammers have to be able to be updated too. So updates are also really, really critical. Number three is going to be customer service. Just because you have a jammer on your car, that's cool, but what happens if you need help, if you need support, if you need to buy more products, or you've got questions on installations, or you need product returned or exchanged, something went wrong, whatever. Customer service is actually really, really a big deal. And so that's going to be the third thing that we're going to talk about for each of the jammers. So which jammers are we going to be talking about? Well, we're going to be covering some of the top tier jammers. And the way I would rank them currently, it's September 2014. So currently, we would say number one, AntiLaser Priorities, the ALPs. Those are going to be your best jammers that you can currently get. Number two, we're going to say the laser interceptors. Number three, I'll have to give to Escort's Laser ShifterPros, the LSPs. Number four, we'll say the Blinder HP-905s. Number five, the K40 G5 laser diffusers. And number six, just for kicks, because why not, we'll say the Rocky Mountain Radar laser scramblers. Since I had one of those and I played around with it and did some testing, so we'll throw that into the mix for fun too. So, okay, so let's get started, and we're going to go in reverse order. So number one, let's talk about the Rocky Mountain Radar units. Why did I rate them as being the worst in the list in last place? Well, because quite frankly, they don't work. They don't do shit. So they don't scramble laser. They don't emit anything that'll actually jam a laser gun. They don't do anything. If you guys have seen some of my other videos on it, I've done some testing, in the lab and in the real world, and it doesn't do anything. It's completely and utterly ineffective. It doesn't do anything, and they market it as if it can. So I don't recommend it at all. It's a terrible decision to get one, so it gets just last place flat out. So the next one we're going to say is going to be the K40 G5s. Now these are an interesting one because they're pretty expensive. They're sold almost exclusively through professional installers who, if you go and you don't know anything about them, they will a lot of times just say, oh, you want laser jammers? Yeah, install K40s. Don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, there's a good amount of markup, and there's incentives for retailers and installers to install them. Exactly what their incentives are, I don't know. However, they're really popular and they're marketed as if they're really good. However, if you take a look at some testing, there's been some, like I just tested one this past weekend, a G5, and there was also another test that was done this weekend by Raltech. And I'll post the link to this test down in the video description below because it's really good. And basically, in a nutshell, it's kind of older technology and it does not support a lot of the newer laser guns. So let's go through this list. Number one, how good is it at actually jamming laser guns? It's not that great. You've got kind of two classes of laser guns. You've got older ones that have been around, they're really popular, and there's tons and tons and tons of them out on the market. And then you've got some of the newer, more recent guns that have some anti-jamming capabilities built in. So how does it work with some of the older guns that are traditionally easier to jam and have been around a lot longer? Well, it performs okay. It's not solid and reliable and trustworthy. It's not bulletproof. You can get what's called punch-throughs, meaning the laser jammer sees it, it's responding to the LiDAR gun, but the LiDAR gun is still able to get a reading off that car even though the jammer is trying to jam it. We call that a punch-through. And the K40 does seem to be pretty susceptible to getting punch-throughs, which is not cool if you're the person with a jammer. So in terms of their capability of being able to jam older guns, not so hot. In terms of their capability of being able to jam newer guns, they can't. So a lot of the newer guns that have come out, the K40s simply can't jam it. Now, can they be updated? Well, it turns out the K40s do not have the capability of being updated as new guns come out. So you're stuck with whatever was pre-programmed into the unit from the factory. So hopefully, if you just happen to get lucky, the only guns you're ever going to run across are the ones that the K40 just happens to support. And if that's the case, hopefully your encounters will be such that the gun isn't able to get a punch through. So not really reliable and trustworthy odds. In terms of customer service, I think that's actually pretty good on the K40 end. You can just call them right up and you'll get a representative without having to go through a phone menu or anything. And because these are installed through dealer networks, you can just go straight to your installer and they'll be able to help you out on the spot. So the customer service is good, and they offer like ticket guarantees if/when you get a ticket with their product. But in terms of just raw effectiveness, it's closer to the bottom of the pack. So K40s would not recommend it. Now, what's next on the list? Blinder HP-905s. I used to own these. I ran them on my car for several years, and they were very effective against the guns that I encountered here in the area. Every time I had an encounter out in the world, they saved me, and they worked. So why is it that I'm ranking them so low? Well, all right, what should we say about Blinder? All right, well, let's just go through the list then. How good are they at jamming current laser guns? Some of the older ones, very good. They are very solid and practically bulletproof. If your install is done well, they will work against the majority of the older guns that are out there. Pro Laser 3, True Speed guns, LTIs, that kind of stuff. They'll do really well. Now, against some of the newer guns that are out there, they do have support for some of the guns, such as some of the older laser allies, but not some of the newer ones, or the Dragon Eye guns, or some of the guns that are being put out by Stalker, or some of the True Speed guns, the newer ones. It is lacking support for some of the newer guns. So you're not going to have protection against some of the newer guns that are coming out. Well, what about updates? Is it going to be updated? So this is one of the interesting things about Blinder. They're not too good about updating the units. Historically, they've come out with very few updates, which means even as other companies are coming out with updates for some of these guns, Blinder is, if they do it all, it's going to take a long time. So you're going to be sitting around unprotected while other people with other products have protection against more current guns. There's been some issues where they claim to be able to jam guns that they can't. For example, they claim that they can jam the Poliscan, which is used, I believe, in Maryland, only in the States, and then quite a bit overseas. However, they can't jam the Poliscan. Some of the laser ally guns, they claim to be able to jam every single laser ally gun. Not the Dragon Eye guns, but the laser allies. Not true. If you contact them, this is interesting, and you say, hey, I happen to be holding a laser ally gun, true story, in my hand, and it doesn't jam, or the Blinder HP-905 can't jam it, you'll basically get no response. If you say, I want to help you guys be able to jam this gun, I'm willing to work with you guys and record the pulse pattern so you can learn how to jam it, no response. They're not really that good at updating. Basically, what they'll do in a nutshell is just claim, oh, yeah, we can jam all these guns. We can jam the Poliscan and the Laser Ally. And they can't, but it's done in such a way where it's deceiving the customers for the sake of just hoping people don't go to get another product. So it's not very honest. Some of the people they work with, as far as publishing their material, it's not entirely honest. And so, just to let you guys know, I really would not recommend the HP-905s. And I say this having run them myself. I have no vested interest in any product. I don't get paid by any manufacturer. I'm just an enthusiast who really loves and enjoys this countermeasure game and just really enjoys sharing this stuff with you. So here's really how stuff works. So as far as the blinders updates, they do update from time to time, but very few and far between, and it's still lacking support for a lot of the newer guns, and there's no telling when and if it will really get the updates for some of the newer guns that are out there. Customer service is also kind of lacking. They're pretty responsive when you go to buy the units, but not the greatest in the world. I mean, they don't fall off the face of the planet when it comes to customer service. Like, I have had to contact them before, and they've actually been really good in my experience, but across the board, they're not going to be in the same league of customer service as some of the other products. So limited support for some of the newer guns, limited updates for the newer guns that are coming out, and okay at best customer service. So that's why Blinder is getting ranked where they are. Next on the list are going to be the Escort Laser Shifter Pros, the LSPs. So what are they? Well, one notch up above the LSPs, I'm going to rank the Laser Interceptors, the LIs. Now, Escort used to develop their own laser jammers in-house. They had the ZR3s and then eventually the ZR4s. Some unique technology there, but even though they had great sensitivity to detecting laser, their ability at jamming was not as good as some of the other products on the market. So what they did is they went to Laser Interceptor, who for quite a while was the best laser jammer on the market, and they said, hey, you guys are working out, you've got some really cool stuff going on. We would like to be able to license your product, put our name on it, and sell it as our own. So that's basically what they did. So Escort went to LI, and LI's licensed their laser interceptors to Escort. So Escort has basically put their own logo on the Laser Shifter Pros, the LSPs, raised the price a little bit, changed the voices around and some of the pins and everything, but it's literally almost the same product for a higher price as the laser interceptors. So why do I rank the LSPs a little bit below the laser interceptors? Well, number one, it's a higher price for effectively the same product. Number two, the voices are not as good in my experience. They don't give you the same level of announcements and information. I personally prefer the laser interceptor voices over the LSP voices, but here's one of the main things. It has to do with updates. So coverage currently LI supports more guns, and here's why. The way the updates work is Laser Interceptor is, they're still working on updates for some of the current guns, like the Dragon Eye guns, for example, and they're releasing some updates to like one of the Stalker guns and just some of the guns that have been out. Well, what they do is when they release these updates, they go out first to Laser Interceptor users. Then they get sent over to Escort, which takes time, and it's kind of a slow process. I don't recall off the top of my head if the LSPs have even had an update yet. I think they might have, but please don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, so what happens is LI will release their updates, and then they get sent over to Escort so that Escort can package it up and release it for the LSPs. So what happens is the updates will come out sooner for the LIs, and if and when they come out for the LSPs, it takes a lot more time. So you're basically paying for a rebadged product because Escort has to have their markup in there. And nothing against Escort. I love the company, great company. I wish them all the best, and I want them to succeed. Like, it's great having Escort in the market. So they have, again, like I said, licensed laser interceptor products. Updates first go to LI, then eventually they get trickled down to the LSPs. And so you're basically paying, their customer service is great, like with Larry. So customer service is great, but you're paying a higher price to get Escort's name on the laser interceptor product, and it takes longer to get the updates. So really, I guess we could transition to laser interceptor, talking about them next. That's really the way to go. It's cheaper than the Laser Shifter Pros because you're not having to pay for Escort's name on it. And the customer service is excellent. Going through Cliff down in Florida, excellent customer service here in the States. So if you have any questions, if you need help, he is phenomenal. Like, he has long been one of the gold standards for customer service. Just absolutely excellent. Cliff Crane. So really, really good there. For a while, especially before the ALPs came out, LIs were also the gold standard for laser jamming performance. They had the best laser jamming coverage, and updates were really quick as well. So where are they now? Well, they are really good. They're currently in second place for coverage against most guns that are out there. They do cover some of the anti-jamming guns, quite a few of them in fact, but there are some of the more tricky ones that they're still working on, and it's been a work in progress for a while. ALP does have support for these guns, but Laser Interceptor is still working on it. So at this time, Laser Interceptor is still in second place for how many guns they support, which again is the most important thing. It's how many guns, if I'm driving around and I get shot by this gun, are you going to be able to jam it? The LI guns are going to be giving you the second best shot at being able to actually effectively jam these guns. In terms of updates, really good. They're reasonably fast, and they're quite good when they're able to successfully create a jamming capability against a certain gun. They'll release it, and they'll do a pretty good job with it. So definitely got to give them props there. And then in terms of customer service, like I said, again, outstanding. So let's go ahead and move on now to the number one product, the AntiLaser Priorities, put out by AntiLaser. This is the successor to their G8s and then their G9s. It's now currently the AntiLaser Priority. So this is currently the top dog, best laser jammer that you can currently get. So let's go ahead and talk about the ALPs. What makes them so great? Well, number one, these are going to give you the best coverage that you can get. If you need to be able to jam a gun, whether it's an older gun, it's a newer gun with anti-jamming capabilities, whether it's a fixed LiDAR gun, one of those they put into poles and just drives past, and you drive by and it takes a picture of your car and mails it to you like the Polyscan would work. If you need coverage and you actually want to jam a gun, that's the way to go. They're going to give you the best protection and the coverage against most guns that are available, period. Number two, updates. This is really where AntiLaser also really shines. It's how good they are with updates. And so there's never really a way to get 100% coverage because there's constantly evolving new laser guns that are coming out with new pulse patterns, new anti-jamming capabilities, and so the abilities, like I said, to be able to update the unit over time is absolutely critical. There was that recent test that was put out by Raltec, and one of the guns had a new pulse pattern that it hadn't seen before, and so the gun was able to get punch-throughs on the ALP. Well, the ALP has the ability to record pulse patterns, and so you can really easily, if need be, record what's going on with this laser gun, send it back to the engineers at AntiLaser. They can develop a new update to cover this gun, and for this one, for example, the update was released within a day or two. Boom, they figured out we had a problem, new update. Fantastic. Now, this update is not yet available to the general public. Once they do get the beta firmware available with the updates, they'll test it and make sure it works, and then they'll run it for about 2 weeks or so just to make sure that there's no other problems that this update have caused. So once they know, yep, not only it works, but it's also stable and reliable, it will be released to the general public. That is phenomenal, and that is huge compared to what I was saying, for example, with Blinder, who is not the greatest in the world in terms of updates. AntiLaser is really staying on top of it, and they're just doing an amazing job. There's a lot more I could say, but really when it comes to updates, outstanding. Customer service, also outstanding. So the way it works is depending on where in the world you are, you buy the AntiLaser from a different vendor. I live in the States, so I have to go through bestradarDetectors.net with Tom, who does a great job, great customer service. He's on the forums, he knows a whole lot, and if you have any questions, you can call him up, and he's able to help you out. If you have any problems afterwards, he's there to help you out as well. So awesome, awesome customer service by Tom at BRD, Best Radar Detectors. So, and again, I'm not sponsored by them. It's just my own personal experience. I'm really happy with their customer service and experience. So if you live in the States, with the exception of Georgia, you've got to go through BRD. If you're in Canada, KMPH. If you go through Europe, it's somewhere else. Just look it up online. I forget the exact website. AntiLaser dot whatever. Google it. You'll find it. So yeah, that's really what it is. They're what I run on my car now. I'm very happy with it. They're very sensitive, really good at picking up laser, and also really good at preventing false alerts. There's a lot of really cool extra features that are built in above and beyond the main things that I've talked about. Customizability, add-ons. It's just an excellent, really well thought out, well engineered product. So the ALPs I'm definitely going to give as my number one recommendation. When I sold my blinder HP-905s and lease expired on my car and it was time to get another car, I sold my blinders, and the ALPs were definitely the choice to get. So at this time, that is my current recommendation, and it's definitely getting the recommendation for being the number one product. Things are always subject to change. You know, there's new products coming out, there's new laser guns that are coming out, and so currently, if you want to have the best protection, the ALPs, out of everything that we've seen and tested, are the ways to go. Good protection and good updates and good customer service, just top notch in all categories. There's, like I said, always new products coming out, like Stinger is about to release their laser jammers, and Stinger VIP, a new version of that, but that's like $6,000 or something here in the States, so crazy expensive. The ALPs are not the cheapest jammers either. A quad setup is like 11 or 1200 bucks, kind of in that range, brand new. Is it necessary to get an ALP? Not necessarily. Even if you live here in the States, a lot of times you can get by with maybe blinders or LIs or something. Does it make sense to get ALPs? If you can afford it, definitely get it. However, if you're looking to save a little bit of money, it's possible that you can get by with a set of used laser interceptors, for example. So when would it be a good idea to do this? Well, if you're in an area where some of the anti-jamming guns are not being used, they're currently only used in a few parts of the country. I mean, it's growing and expanding, and things are always subject to change, and police departments are always buying new guns, you know, so things are always going to change. But if you happen to live in an area where the for example, we're just going to use the laser interceptors. If you get those, and especially if you buy them used, it's going to save you a pretty good amount of money. And if you happen to live in an area where the only guns that are used are the ones that laser interceptor supports, then you are good to go. You're just fine. And at the end of the day, you're going to have equivalent protection against speeding tickets as if you were to buy a more expensive and more capable system. So really, you can get by. I mean, where I live, I could keep running the old blinder HP-905s and it would still be fine because it would cover me against everything that's used here in this area. But I love road tripping, I love driving around, and I would go into areas where that gun would just, or those jammers would simply not keep me protected. And from what I've seen with respect to blinder, I don't have really high hopes for them being able to update their jammers to compensate for that. So it just makes sense to swap them out for something better and something more capable. If you do want to save money, I guess you can go with the blinder HP-905s. They do have some cool features over the LIs that are kind of nice, but you can also go for used laser interceptors, save some money there. But really, if you want to do it right, get yourself a set of ALPs, give you the best coverage. They're going to future-proof you against newer guns. And something else that's really important, to get these things installed, it takes quite a bit of time to get the heads installed in your grill, to run the wires through your engine bay and into the firewall, to get the controls mounted in your car. It's not something that you are going to really want to replace or can do easily. A lot of people even pay hundreds of dollars to have professionals do this. Sometimes, depending on your car, you need to have, holes cut out in your grill or custom mounts fabricated to get these laser jammers installed. So the installation of these things is not quite plug and play. So swapping it out for another unit or having to cut different sized holes in your grill may not be a good idea. So while you may save a couple $100 by going for a lower tier laser jammer, it still may not be worth it because you may want to upgrade eventually. And if you have to cut holes in your grills, if you're going to have to rerun wiring, redo the controls and mounts inside the car, if you got to cut holes in your center console or in your dash for the controls or displays or anything, I mean, that's not stuff that you're going to want to take lightly and, swap over. So even if you could save a couple $100 by going for maybe a different product instead of the ALPs, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it because of these issues. It's one of those things where 99% of the time it's worth just do it right from the get-go. Buy the best that you can. You're going to have the coverage, you're going to have the updates, you're going to have the customer support, you're going to have the features, and you're going to have that peace of mind, which is one of the whole reasons you would do this, to say, hey, well, I'm driving out there with the best product around. That to me means a lot. Like, I personally feel better saying, even though there's no way to be 100% totally positive that nothing can go wrong and you can still get, shot by laser, I've swung the odds as well as I can in my favor. I've done everything that I can to really set myself up to be protected and covered and safe. That peace of mind really means a lot to me, and if that means a lot to you, I would definitely recommend going for a higher level product like the ALPs instead of trying to save a little bit of money and go for like 905s or LIs or something. So with all that said, hopefully that was informative and useful to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, I'll go ahead and post some links down in the description below to where you can go to find the ALPs, get more information on them, as well as some test results that show you how these products all compare. So that will be all in the description below. If you like this stuff, as usual, make sure you remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching/listening. See ya.